Okay. All right, guys. My name is Dr. Sharnael, Wolverton-Sehon. I'm super, super excited to have a good friend of mine, Laura Eisenhower, with us today. Hello, Laura.
Hey, Sharnael.
While we are getting ready to jump through the December 21st topic, I would love to hear where you guys are, what city, state, country, whatever. I'd love to hear where you're from. We got we're actually going on 2 different Facebook pages, and we're also on Twitter. So there's a lot of different. Oh, I see Crystal now. Now this popping on. Okay, we have 17. So number is following me everywhere. So we are in a discussion today on December 21st, the winter solstice, and there's a lot of talk about a lot of different things that could possibly be going on and or happening. And I wanted to get the Queen of Understanding to help us understand what it's all about and how to be prepared and just what's going on with this whole winter solstice and in the 2020 year. So I'm sure you've charted this already, right, Laura? Can you hear me?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Okay, good. You've charted it quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's just the thing with some of this kind of stuff is I think people sometimes expect like a huge event to happen or everything's going to be okay. This alignment's coming. And I don't want to be, pessimistic at all because I'm not. I hold nothing but positive energy as far as where we're heading in the future. But I mean, we're already kind of experiencing the conjunction already. And more than likely, it's going to be a slow sort of turnaround of events that we're, seeing in the news. But it kind of depends what location a person's in because we're still dealing with, different kinds of leadership all over the world. And I mean, it seems that there's enough proof with the voter fraud, and that's still not enough to kind of flip everything. And then they're talking about, a martial law. So, I mean, I think that the light forces aren't going to give up at all. And it's just a matter of just, staying strong. Jupiter is all about expansion and the higher mind and the more philosophical mind. It expands everything it touches. It's going to be in the sign of Aquarius conjunct Saturn. Saturn, we've been dealing with the conjunctions of Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter all year long. And they've been in the sign of Capricorn. So moving into the sign of Aquarius, when people talk about the, age of Aquarius, these aspects haven't been in Aquarius making a conjunction since 1405. And this kind of conjunction hasn't happened since the 1600s. So, I just see powerful revolutionary energies, people refusing to giving up their freedom, because that's what Uranus and Aquarius represents. But as we go into 2021, we're going to be dealing with the Saturn-Uranus square, and squares mean tension. So Saturn is not letting go that easy, right? So Saturn-Jupiter is going to be illuminated. And yeah, more than likely around that time or even on the day, some big sort of maybe breakthrough is going to happen that has the chance to kind of spread and ripple out throughout the whole collective and the planet. But then Uranus square Saturn for the whole of 2021, a squared aspect meaning friction, and Saturn representing authority and control in its lower octaves, which we see still on the planet. It doesn't want us to move into that level of liberation that Uranus and Aquarius represents. So it's going to be a bit of a tug of war for 2021.
I've heard both sides of this, and I've so many different people. So I want to understand, because this whole natal chart stuff was introduced to me by you. What I think 3 years ago, however long it's been. And I mean, when you talk, it's like, okay, what are you saying? Like, but I know you know what you're saying. And how is it that 2 different people can look at the same thing and then kind of get different interpretations? Because I had a coder on last night, and he does charts too. And he's actually saying that it's fixed, like that everything is fixed, that there's no changes, that we're all being used, and whether we are or not, if he is saying that it is, and it is, and we're in this like simulation or game of some kind in a vault in Prison Planet, then first of all, what's the point? But second of all, for me, because of the whole co-creative part and the manifestation part, and pretty much everything that I teach and understand is that we can change it. And maybe, and he said something like, well, they want you to think that. So just keep thinking that, because that's why you were built. They want you to do that because then they can live off the gold. And for me, I was like, I don't even care at this point, because either way, if someone tells me I can't do something, I'm going to do it 27 times in the next 15 minutes. And, if that's what I needed to get a kick in the ass to do way more than I would have 20 minutes ago, then game on, and I'll just do it. And that if that's what makes me, do all the things I'm supposed to do here before I check out, then maybe I just needed someone to tell me you can't do it. So, but I love your reference on that. And then also he thinks that there's going to be like some big solar thing and all this stuff with a new planet and stuff. So those are two questions, and I know they're kind of big, but that's it.
Yeah, I don't submit to that belief system. I mean, everything really is based in belief systems, and it's also like sort of undermining a person's soul history, because we aren't just these lowly humans dealing with these rulers. We might have had, past lives in connection with them. We might have played a role of, being in a really prominent position, not necessarily politically, but, when we look at advanced civilizations and the DNA capacity we were able to hold, and the kind of archetypal energies, the goddess energies, the archetypes of the divine masculine as well. I mean, we're at a very limited potential. So if we can start to switch on our dormant DNA, if we can start to activate our galactic chakras and recognize that we're a lot more than we could ever imagine. Hold on a second. We can start to, move in that direction. November 30th, which was 2 days ago, the sun started to move through the 13th sign of Fiacus. That hasn't happened since 2010. Wow. So this represented a timeline shift. Yeah, this represented like the timeline shift. And Lisa Renee talks about it. Keylontic Science has talked about it. But ascension is based in accretions, which is an integration of light energy in order to, raise one's, energy and frequency out of like any form of control. Because when we do look at the matrix and the simulation part of it, it is based in the mind control, the social engineering, and the things that keep us hooked into the net, where we are not able to bust through the seals and fences that have been put in our DNA. And so our inability to access the rest of our DNA is why it's called junk and why we've been taught it's junk. So if we start to explore all of that, then all of a sudden we are stepping into a higher harmonic universe. And that's within us to be able to achieve. Problem is when we begin to move into those levels or layers, we get psychically attacked, or there's some sort of maybe event that takes place that feels very sabotaging or defeating, or maybe friends or partners or, start to turn on us or and we can't kind of handle the reflection that's coming back. And so it can create a feeling of defeat. And then we start looping again, and we kind of like go back into maybe that lower space. So we kind of have to understand what it involves and what it takes to begin to dissolve those fences and seals. But when the sun started to move through Ophiuchus, it became much easier, because Ophiuchus is ruled by the ether, and the 13th sign is connected to the divine mother. So when we talk about this ascension cycle and what the Mayans predicted and what many advanced civilizations predicted, they're talking about sort of the end of the world. It's actually the new beginning. It's like the end of the old paradigm. So that has been prophesized, and nobody, I don't care who they are, can take that away. And I think enough of us have, experienced premonitions or dreams or, insights into, where this could all possibly go. And worst case scenario, there's going to be a bifurcation. I mean, how can we possibly live out a total new world order timeline agenda that might involve mandatory vaccinations without, either bifurcating away or somehow refusing it, even to the point of maybe, death? But death is not an ending. It's
not death.
It's a rebirth in alchemy. And I don't want to sound morbid, like, oh, we're going to all have to like exodus out of here and like off ourselves. But I mean, there's certain things that we're not going to submit to. But I would say November 30th to December 17th, with the sun moving through Ophiuchus, where we have access to the ether energy, which represents the upright pentagram, and the fifth element streaming into our systems in order to purify our DNA and the elemental aspect of what our DNA holds, because the nucleic acids hold earth, air, fire, water, like the platonic solids as well. When the ether energy is available and it begins to purify that, then where do we end up after December 17th? We end up around the winter solstice and the December 21st date, where Jupiter is conjunct Saturn. So if we utilize this time to really purify and really, really, kind of meditate and set our intentions and do invocations to help us, fully claim our sovereignty and not consent to anything less, by the time December 21st rolls around, we should be in good shape. So the reason people don't really pay attention to the fact that the sun moves through the 13th sign of Ophiuchus is because, first off, not a lot of people know this. Not a lot of people know that this represented a timeline shift and what this ascension cycle means. And so they might think maybe the ascension window came and went, or they might not have ever believed that there was anything to do with it, or that was just a belief or a new age deception. And there are new age deceptions, but it's a real deal thing. I've studied it and researched it all my life. I was prepared and sort of downloaded all about it when I was a kid. And then when I got the information to back it up, I was like, yes, that makes sense. So.
Well, so going back to the Mayan calendar, a lot of people thought things were going to really, really shift then. And I know some people said that it was an extension, but I'm also hearing, because of the whole, the different calendars that are to be, I guess, that some calendars actually line up with us now, kind of being where the 12th was, because of that other lunar moon situation, like that the calendars aren't even right, that it might actually be like 8 days a week instead of 7 days a week, and how, all the calculations. So do we get an extension, or are we just using the wrong calendar?
We've had a wrong calendar. The 13 moon calendar would have been much more appropriate. We're not really running on time based in cosmic and natural law, or the balance of the masculine and feminine, or the fullness of, like, all the different, kind of archetypes and energies and planetary energies that these different days and numbers and months represent. But that's why it's so significant that we began to move through the 13th sign, or that began to come in, because that represents the restoration of something that is already organic and already there. But the sun not moving through the 13th sign really shows we've been in, a very, very dark cycle for the last 26,000 years. And now that the sun is moving through Ophiuchus again, and one looks at, like, the return of the mother and the mother arc energy, which is an aqua ray that is anchored into the planetary core, that impacts the grids in a really amazing way, plus all the benevolent beings that are connected to Andromeda, and some of these groups and races that went extinct around the electrical wars, like a really, really long time ago. There's a lot more benevolent guardian groups that are here that are also activating the starseed missions, the indigo and the crystal children, and also some of these hybrid programs. Some aren't so positive, but some actually are, and they represent the healing of the digressed human, and what it means to go down that timeline of digression, and that we're not dealing with normal time. So when we start to step out of the time loop, and we're in kind of our higher awareness, time doesn't exist in the way that we know it. But the fact that we're starting to move into this 13th sign and larger zodiac picture, and we're experiencing it right now until 2017, I think a lot of amazing breakthroughs are going to happen, where people are really, tapping into an energy that they have not experienced for thousands and thousands of years. So, it's the kind of stuff you can't really predict, but you can know what's available. And what are you going to do in the knowingness that something's available? Do we turn a blind eye? Do we put disbelief on it because what this guy said? No, you're the opposite, right? It's like a doctor saying you'll never be able to walk again, and then you prove them wrong, right? So it might have just been something that you needed to hear, and that it's like great to talk about, and for me to hear as well, because everything in me says, no, that's not true. Yeah, maybe for some humans that don't have any, starseed memories or of a mission, or any memories of their galactic origins, or any memories of existing in higher dimensional Earth energies. Yeah, it could just be the same sort of stuff that we see in religion and any kind of belief system, where you're being told something and it's not quite the truth. Certain religions have talked about the rapture. Certain New Age communities have talked about ascension. How correct and accurate is that really? But when we look at it based in DNA, when we look at it based on facts and numbers and things going on in the stars, there's no denying what the properties of these planetary bodies represent and how they impact our physical body, our energy meridians, our chakra system, and our organs and endocrine system, because the planets and the signs are connected to that. We're intimately connected with the planets beyond just like, oh yeah, because so-and-so planet is doing this, we're just going to experience this event. It's something that we have to stand in alignment with to integrate. So if we're sitting there like watching television or focused on a belief system outside of ourselves, particularly for the next couple of weeks, we're not going to be able to really utilize the healing and purifying energies of the ether. And so when December 21st rolls around, it might just be the same old, same old. More mandates, more control, more deep state like tactics. But if we can utilize this time and really like maybe spend every day dedicating an hour out of your day to just maybe sit in nature, or just find a space in your house to create a little sanctuary with maybe sound healing, essential oils or crystals, and just really, really get in the zone and really amplify your intent. Maybe write it down. That energy streaming through is going to encode our creative channels with that intent.
Yes.
So what we choose to do in the next couple of weeks is going to make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and that done individually adds to the collective. So it's every single person together that's working together to do what she's saying. This is so important that we don't wait on someone else to do it for us. And then we don't wait on the government or Santa or whoever you believe in. You know what I mean? It's like, this is at such a time to be responsible, to really dig deep. And, the more that we can work on the inside and work through our things, then that clears not only us, but it clears the collective for the whole earth to balance out and to get to that higher realm where we can start seeing the moves that we're saying that we really want. But it does take action. It does take responsibility. It does take faith, but faith and action is what's really key here, and not just being like, oh, I've heard people who say things like, oh, I'm really praying for this. And it's like, okay, I'm praying for the government. I'm praying for Trump. I think we should all pray for Trump. I think we should all pray for all of the government officials to come into their alignment, whoever it is. And, but it also requires some things like what Laura's talking about, is actually doing some things. What can you do? What are you doing about you and your personal situation of where you are? And are you being reactive in all of this? Whether it's like a full moon or whatever's moving on with the stars or the planets. I had a couple crazy days this week, and I actually was like, reached out to even Laura and was like, oh my God, like what the heck? But if I could just get in that quiet space like she's talking about and go, okay, what is this? And then ask myself some questions like, when's the first time I felt this? Slow down a minute and really think about what I'm thinking about, feel what I'm feeling, and transmute whatever those things are. Otherwise, suppressing them goes right back in to just deal with on another mountain, on another day, on another moon, on another planet. And we're not getting anywhere. We're just cycling in those trauma loops. So I'm glad to say that I'm glad to hear that you think we can change the game, because I really do think we can change the game. I think that it takes all of us and it takes responsibility, but I just didn't like the fact that we were just completely locked in, or to have to submit to, just because we were born on this time with these planets, that they rule in some way,
I mean, oh, there's an echo of my voice.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Let me put in earphones. Is that
Okay.
better?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. So the ether energy also connects us into the 0 point unified field. And when we get into the 0 point, we're not looping and we're not, stuck in the wheel. And what gets us stuck in the wheel is when we don't gain wisdom from the patternings that we experience. We just keep repeating the same patterns. That's why we're seeing history repeat itself. We're seeing the same kind of thing happening with pandemic, false flag events also, just things to really, compromise people and put them into fear. Because we are creative vessels. They use our life force. They siphon and harvest our life force in order to be able to create these artificial timelines. So if we are tied into it, if we are in fear of it, if we are finding ourselves needing to, be involved in it, we're kind of enabling it. So it's not the easiest of times, because for some people it might mean you got to step away from that career. Maybe it's time to find community. Maybe it's time to leave the area that you're living in. I mean, the thing is, we're not going to be able to do very well if we continue staying in the same positions that we've been in that cause us to be very affected by, mandates and, just the vulnerability of being dependent on even, food sources. So a lot of people that have known that we were more than likely going to move through this particular time where we're facing the NWO agenda trying to enact itself, knew to, stock up on supplies, get generators, and like be prepared, right? We have to get through this really difficult window to get to the other side, because it's not just going to be like, oh, okay, you guys are all awakening. We're out of here. No, they're not going to stop. But how can we become less dependent and more sufficient? To a certain degree, we're going to have some level of dependency, but hopefully it's, we can make it more minimal so that all that creative energy and all our own personal life force is connecting to the earth and cosmos and our own inner self in order to generate, a better world. And like you said, it does take action, and that impacts the collective consciousness. Everything that we do is a part of that greater collective. So I think what's most important, what I'm trying to do, with the Patreon and my subscribers, is to build community. It's like, how can we have each other's back? How can we pull resources together? What can we do to, help one another not be in that dependency? Because it really is a choice. And yes, some people are afraid of the change that is required in order to get away from all that. But it doesn't mean that like you have to run away from it all. Sometimes you can exist in it, but be not of it, right? And still be sovereign. But whatever it's going to take, it's going to require being very mindful and conscious of where your energy is going, where your belief systems are going, and to be really realistic with what's available. It's not some like woo-woo thing and some big event's going to happen and it's all going to be taken care of. We need to do the breath work. We need to detox. We need to, have a sense of security by stocking up on, items just in case. Maybe, finding a way to be exempt from some of the mandatory things. And worst case scenario, just find peace, do a life review, find peace, with death, because it's the fear of death that's really holding people, and there's nothing to fear. And so the fact that they can control the whole world through the fear of death just goes to show how unadvanced we are, because when we step into our multidimensional awareness, those veils are gone, the veils between life and death. We've already journeyed through that and became mindful and conscious on the other side, to the point where we could go through those transformation cycles, death, rebirth, transformation cycles in the physical body without the physical body leaving. So that's the kind of mastery that they did in ancient civilizations. They induced the initiations into the death cycle in order to master those gateways of death, in order to create the soul alchemy to become a Christed individual. All those teachings have been lost. So we just have to kind of, challenge ourselves to rediscover all that we can be.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Patreon thing and talking about death and rebirth. And what I actually love about this woman is she's just unstoppable. With the changes with censorship and all the things that are going on, like literally I'm in the car, I get a call from David Rodriguez that he's gone. He was off Facebook, and he's like, let me call Laura right now. He calls Laura, he calls me back, and he's like, Laura's gone too. I talked to Laura a little bit later and she's gone. But her attitude was and is always like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'll send links in a little bit on my new page, and she's not giving up. Like, she's like, the truth must come out. I'm going to keep sharing. It's just part of my DNA. It's part of my chart. It's part of who she is. It's part of her purpose. And some people honestly would just be like, and I know people who have done this. They're just like, oh God, and they go cry for weeks and they just don't pivot at all. But you know what? I mean, I just love your attitude about this whole thing. It's like, okay, get back up,
thanks.
do the thing, keep on doing it, You're not giving up. And I think it just gives you
it's like a spiritual obstacle course, I've lost so much in my life, and there were times that I wasn't able to pick myself back up. I already saw that people were being deplatformed, and I know that I put out controversial material anyway. It didn't surprise me. So I was already somewhat prepared anyway. And it's like, okay, well, I can create a new account. Maybe the account will be switched back on. There's these other platforms, and it's kind of like, there's never an end. There's always a new beginning that follows an ending. We have to be resourceful. We have to be creative. We have to stay inspired. And it hasn't been so easy. I've had like some really off days and off weeks since all this craziness happened. But none of it kind of surprises me. And I think, it's been sort of a lifetime of preparation, and many, many lifetimes of preparation for this particular, time on the planet. And it's just like, what do we have to lose at the end of the day? Standing up for truth, standing up for our rights. I mean, I guess I'm so not afraid of death that I very easily put myself on the line, not because I have a death wish, but because I don't see a true existence or an ability to really live unless I'm being true to myself. So, I mean, what if the internet went down? What if we had no platform at all and no way to get in touch with each other? I like to be prepared for the worst case scenario without energizing it and being a part of manifesting it. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, there's nature. And there are times that I went off into the wilderness for weeks and months at a time, and I was totally fine. So if I can do that, then I don't have to have any real attachments. A person that hasn't done that, then you have something wonderful to discover. I mean, the mother energy takes care of us if we're in a space of reverence and, communion with the natural world. And you just get a few books to teach you about what plants you can eat, stock up on a cook stove and some other items in a backpack and have some gear, put it in the garage, and you're not gonna freak out so much over every little thing that happens in the news, because you kind of have a backup plan. And even if one doesn't, you can be resourceful and create synchronicities and magic and miracles in the moment the challenge strikes. So I feel like the Great Reset and all the stuff breathing down our neck is pushing us to reclaim our greater abilities. And it's part of the waking up process. People take things for granted too easily. But being pushed to the edge, I think is what's giving people the opportunity to discover their true treasures. Unfortunately, the infiltration and the distortions of truth have infected every sector of our society. And when we look at just like the Mockingbird media and paperclip and things that happened decades ago, this is why it's so hard for people to wake up, because the universities, the schools, the medical industry, everything, what's been passed down to us from our parents, the limitation that we see in others, just that we grew up with, and the stigma connected to being an awakened person, the stigma is like, oh, you're crazy, or you lose friends and you're basically ridiculed and called, so it's really not easy. That's why we have to band together.
Yeah, and not to mention food and chemicals and sugar and chemtrails and, GMOs. And so we got not just the programming and all the frequency, vibration, 5G, it's a lot of opportunity for us to overcome. But the thing is, this is not a surprise to us on a deeper level. Like, we knew this was going to happen. We were handpicked. We came, we signed up, and this can be awesome. I mean, we're in a great opportunity time for all of us. So it could be scary and it's freaky. And also it's a time to really dig deep and remember our courage and remember our strength. And like you said so beautifully, be prepared, but also don't give it energy with the fear. Like, just use wisdom and making some good choices. And community, like you said, is huge. Just finding other ways, make sure your people you live around. Like, most people don't know their neighbors. You see them at the mailbox or whatever, and you like look the other way because, oh God, don't wave at me. I mean, we're just so like in our screens, whether it's the social media and the iPads and the computers and the TVs and, whatever, that I think we've kind of lost a little bit of touch over the years with actual real life people and or nature and things that can actually bring a lot of life and fruit, Oh, I thought you were saying something.
Yeah, it's like kind of what's existing around us. How can we Oh, sorry, there's a little bit of a delay.
Okay.
But how are we going to advance ourselves if we expect to advance ourselves through staying connected to media platforms that censor, that are owned, that are bought? I mean, it's sort of like, how can you find true love if you are stuck in a relationship with a narcissist, So, I mean, a lot of this is blessings in disguise to help us to let go of, some of these things associated with the very thing we're trying to stop. So this is the importance of building community, because there's a lot of really intelligent people that have the tech ability to create, platforms. They're already in existence. They might not be as user-friendly or as advanced in the software, but so what? I mean, I just feel like if there's going to be a massive purging, some of it's going to be by our choice and some of it's going to just happen. Like if you really need to get out of a bad relationship, for the most part, a person's going to have to consciously leave and say, I'm out of here. But sometimes there's an event that might happen that says, okay, the universe stepped in and did this for you, right? So we have to just really be trusting, because when we're not in a place of trust of ourselves, and when we're in our lower mind, our creative energies are tangled up in that negative or artificial timeline, because we're not utilizing the fullness of all that we are. So when we start to connect with the frequency of, our heart, our love, our wisdom, our higher mind, and we allow that to dominate our thoughts and our actions, then obviously, we're going to see opportunities and synchronicities show up that are very different than the yo-yo of good news, bad news, or we're all, waiting every day to hear the next headline to see what our fate is. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, we need to stay informed, but we need to know, like, what is awakening? It's not just understanding conspiracy. It's not just understanding terminologies connected to consciousness. Like you said, we really have to become it. We have to be willing to become it.
Yes.
And it's not easy because, anxiety and stress puts people in a place of wanting to, make that feeling go away. But we just need to ask it, what message do you have for me? Because it actually wants to give us higher guidance instead of fear. But we've been taught to react in fear in the fight or flight. But if we ask, like, what is it really that you do want? We might find a great download comes in and we have a huge epiphany, and it can be life-changing. So this is the thing with astrology too. All the planetary aspects have different levels of how we're going to experience it. Not everybody's going to experience it the same. So, I mean, I think December 21st is going to represent some kind of bifurcation or the beginning of a process of rehabilitation as the control system in the deep state collapses and more individuals are held accountable and more mass arrests. That's kind of what I'm seeing.
Interesting. Well, on a different note, I'm actually, you've probably seen this because I know David had somebody on last week, I think. And we're doing a topic with Jason Q on Thursday regarding flat Earth versus globe Earth. Do you have anything to say about the differences of that and or what? I mean, I'm pretty much globe Earth. Not to give you too much information. I'm also very willing to be wrong. I really don't care. Maybe I should, but it's just a fun topic, and I am interested in what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like everything exists. It depends on the person, and if it has a frequency of truth, if it makes you feel more grounded, more aligned, more balanced, then that's your true reality. I mean, we're not going to see reality the same way. We're multidimensional beings. There's many different also platonic solids and sacred geometries and formations of these, different things and different patternings. So I feel those who feel it's flat Earth, it's flat Earth. For those who feel it's a sphere or a globe, it's a globe. Until we can actually leave the planet and view it ourselves, then it's just going to be, I almost feel like we're just chasing our tail. It's like there's evidence to support both. I'm sure, the flat Earth theories, have a lot to prove it. I haven't even bothered because I'm like, I don't, whether the Earth is triangle, rectangle, this or that. It's just, I feel like it's a bit of a psyops, but like you, I'm curious, I feel like I want to have that discussion too, and maybe interview somebody and have an open mind, because I mean, I'm sure there's, some kind of importance, but when one looks at all the planets and the fact that they're round, and I see that the Earth, like being in the mix of it all, is just like flat. Well, I know that with the simulation kind of theory, holographic, reality kind of thing, and this whole sort of other version of reality that we, exist in that is different than what we are taught. Yeah, that's very possible. But to me, there's also this organic Gaia matrix that is the true nature of our reality. And we're caught in a simulation, but that isn't the end all be all. And maybe in that simulation, the Earth is flat because of the way that the technology or the way the simulation works is based in that model. But when I think of the organic Mother Earth, when I think of organic ascension and the way that it's all working, I'm not getting really, that it's flat. I think because I don't like that word, because we're multidimensional beings. When I hear the word flat in and of itself, I'm like, ugh, like it just feels like so limited. Yeah. So I think I probably have a lot of agreement with the flat earthers. I just wish maybe the terminology was different, because it doesn't really draw me in, because I'm just thinking that, there's higher harmonic universes, higher earth energies, and there's dimensional layers and levels. And there's all sorts of shapes and even sacred geometries that make up the auric field of the planet that is like a Merkaba field. So we're activating into that. So the word flat almost to me like is programming myself to forget that we're moving into a crystalline matrix, and we have the diamond heart within the Earth is, pulsating this and helping us to shift into it. It just feels too limiting and too much of a belief system that, I believe, exists, but just not for me.
Awesome. I was just curious. And I know you've interviewed quite a few things, and I know your whole recruitment off planet situation, and you didn't go. So maybe that would have given you a bird's eye view, literally, but you didn't go. So
yeah, they have a lot of simulations when it comes to, there's a lot of simulated off-planet experiences also, where, there's a chance that some of it's like a virtual reality, and it might not actually be, it wasn't really worth it to me, but when I look at it and where we are on the planet, I think about it a lot. What would have happened if I had gone? I'm glad I didn't, but I would definitely try and send a message through saying whether or not the Earth was flat.
Yes, awesome.
If it was the real Mars, I think it was. I'm not sure, but
the real Mars,
all the people that have been in secret. What's that?
I said, if it was the real Mars, if it's the real Mars, yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I feel like in the personality matrix, the 3D is a simulation, because when we're only limited to the mind and belief systems, we are in a holographic sort of feedback loop of whatever our belief systems, hold. But when you move into a truth frequency, you start to, be in a whole different, kind of thing. So I just really feel like we're limited as humans. It's obvious with aging and death, which we didn't normally experience in the level that we do in the here and now. And we're breaking and deprogramming from a lot. We're breaking through and deprogramming from a lot. And in response, the reality around us changes. And we have a completely different experience. As long as we have junk DNA and we're only, functioning in our lower strands or, just a few strands, the reality that we're being taught is going to be just as limited as what our consciousness is willing to attain. So I like to break all the rules. I don't like to be limited by, anything. But yeah, I do feel, anybody who's been off planet, even astronauts, I can't remember his name, but everybody who I know that has either been in secret space programs or been off planet have said it's not flat. So, and even Lisa Renee, who is sort of, it seems like she just is always kind of on point with truth, but again, I don't have fixed beliefs and I don't close myself off. I like to stay in the flow of like, my own sovereign viewpoint of reality.
So, well, and speaking of that, what are you reading and studying right now as a person? Like, I'm just curious, and for the others out there that might want to jump in and study what you're studying, or maybe it's people that you are kind of watching their YouTubes or documentaries, or like what's something that is exciting for you right now that you're diving into that maybe we can tap in, kind of coattail with you?
Well, I'm just kind of paying attention to the geopolitical, just kind of hearing, kind of the everyday news, which is something that I used to not do. But the reason I am is just because, I don't know, it's just important to know what's going on, especially when I work with clients. And I like to sort of integrate it into just the other kind of research that I prefer to do, which is all about our human potential, what our junk DNA is really made of, what's going on astrologically. I'm not as immersed in as people might think, because people kind of know me as the astrologer person, because I do, personal readings for people. But yeah, I don't know. Like I can't think of anything that stands out. I'm just kind of following the everyday sort of geopolitical. I'm like all about nature. I'm all about trying to find more balance in my own life. Working on just being prepared for anything that might, kind of happen. As far as documentaries, I'll watch, anything connected to alien agenda, freaking, anybody that's like a colleague that's put something out, I'll try and, make sure that I watch it. I don't really have a particular channel that I follow, except for the geopolitical stuff like X22 and, some of the websites like Zero Hedge and Stillness in the Storm, just to kind of, see, what's going on. But I'm always interested. It's sort of like a given. I'm always interested in anything deep state, anything also connected to just the polarity integration of science and spirituality and, things like Keylontic science. And but I get so many downloads that I'm so busy with the downloads that I like to just kind of pick and choose certain things that I feel drawn to for whatever reason. It's not always going to be the same thing. And then, kind of put it through my BS meter and sort of take what resonates and leave the rest, and then kind of connect it into maybe a download that I got. And then I'll make a slide out of it or include it in a presentation, because I keep doing presentations. Like I have one coming up Sunday for New Living Expo that would have been in person. But I'm still, kind of actively updating presentations, and I've been doing presentations for a good 10 years, and I can't do the same one, of course, every time. So that kind of pushes me to come up with the next download or the next wave of energy. And I like to pull from multiple dimensions in order to find the common thread where I can connect the dots and see a much bigger picture. Because if I was just focused on conspiracy, that'd be depressing. If I was just focused on consciousness, I might just lose a sense of, what one has to be prepared for and aware of. So I know it's all connected, and I know one's trying to target the other. And so, yeah, it's just the process that I go through to create the presentations that I do. Yeah, and if anybody's interested, I've got some that I can pass those along.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and I think you're really good at it. Like, you are such a master at taking a lot of different information and simulating it and communicating it very well into, kind of connecting the dots with all the information that you get. That's what I really appreciate about you personally and your communication. You're always using these like analogies that bring home some of these more bigger scientific kind of, huger picture kind of things. And then you kind of like bring back to like nature and people and relationships, and you can kind of, I just love that. That was the thing that attracted me to you. You're my favorite. You're just my favorite. I love watching all your stuff. Please tell everybody how they can connect with you, your patron channel, like what you're doing coming up here, anything you got going on, so people can connect more with everything that you're doing.
Oh, awesome. Well, my website's cosmicgaia.org. You'll find the information about Patreon, Dark to Light with David Rodriguez and I. We have a guest every other Wednesday, and we do a Q&A show the other Wednesday. So it's pretty much weekly. And you can find a link for that on my website. There's also a Cosmic Gaia subscription, and I do 4 Zoom events a month. And some of it, comes with being able to do one-on-one sessions with people, but I'm less able to these days. But there's still, ways to interact and ask questions, and I can look up a person's chart. And yeah, I'll try and keep it updated as far as the events that I have coming and ways to access some of those presentations. And I just love you so much. I really appreciate you having me on. And the big intention behind it is that we stay sovereign, we stay focused on our potential, and we keep our energy high. We have mutual, love and support, and we have each other's back when we're not feeling so great. And that to me is what community is all about. And I can't imagine this journey without you. So I so appreciate your friendship and having me on. And I look forward to more that we're going to do, like, maybe more roundtables as well.
Yes, we have a roundtable coming up on the 17th.
That's right.
So we'll have to discuss more about that. So far, it's you and myself, Charlie Ward, and Jason Q, who I don't think you've met yet, but you're going to have fun with that. And I'll talk to you more about more details on that. But for those of you watching, please do mark on your calendar December 17th, 7 p.m. Central, and we'll give you more details on that in the future. So any final words as we pivot out of here for the day?
Well, I mean, this is probably the most critical time of year. The fact that the sun's moving through Ophiuchus, the 13th sign, it's really important to get some information about that. I can maybe pass along some of my older presentations so people can just really feel into it and get in touch with it. And there's some great links I can pass along too. And just really utilize this time to integrate this ether energy. It's purifying, it's detoxing, and it is a deprogrammer. And this is the most important year for us to move into 2021 on a timeline that shows a lot of hope, right? Because also December 21st really is solidifying the timeline that we are choosing to be on. And this particular window beforehand is very much about the intention we hold and about the frequency we're holding. And so really utilize this time and just, I hope you feel inspired and encouraged. I know the news out there is not so easy, but just be careful where your energy goes and believe in yourself, because the time of awakening is recognizing the fullness of all that we are. That's number one. So you are the best thing that you could possibly be discovering right now. And just don't forget that.
I think that's awesome. That's great. And that's everything that we're about. So I do hope you guys will be encouraged and remember your strength, remember your truth, do something tangibly kind for yourself. Okay. Go out there and use self-care. That's really, really important. And there's a real frequency shift when we do take care of ourselves. And, it seems counter for anyone who's like in service, because we think, why would we have service to ourselves, versus service to others? But, seek ye first the kingdom. We got to make sure that we are good, that we're healthy, that we're taking care of ourselves, drinking good water, eating good food, maybe juicing, going out to nature, taking a walk, being with other people. I encourage people to laugh, go be around other people that you can laugh with, or watch a funny movie, or do something to raise the vibration, magnesium baths, or get with your pets if pets make you happy. I'm so glad your cat came back. Oh my God, I was praying. But yeah, so we will be in touch. You guys have a wonderful, awesome day. I hope you will share and tag and encourage other people with this video. And thanks again, Laura, for your time. We'll see you back on the 17th. And I do have, tomorrow is Thursday, tomorrow night, for you guys who want to hang out with us. I'll have Jason Q on. We do our regular show at 7 o'clock every Thursday. And I don't know if you saw this, Laura, but Jason Westerfield will be on at 8:30 tomorrow night. I know you know Jason.
Oh yeah, he's great. Wow, cool.
It's his first public thing that he has done, I think in like a decade, a decade.
He should be speaking way more. I'm so glad you're having him on. I should, definitely get a hold of him.
It's pretty big that he's coming out and actually going to be speaking on activating the biofield. We're doing a little activation, and yeah, I know the power of of who he is and what he's all about, and have spent quite a bit of time with him as well. And so I'm excited to introduce him to a lot of people who don't have anything or any knowledge of him. And then there's some who think they do know what he's about, and you'll see it's different. So we'll talk soon. Thanks a lot, guys, and hope to catch you guys later somewhere else. And have a great day. You make it great. All right, bye-bye.